For the first time in 20 years, Google is in panic mode. Its strong grip on the search engine market is slipping. Google's market share has fallen below 90% for the first time in years. Now, they may still have majority of the market, but for Google, this drop below 90% is catastrophic. Even a 1% decline means tens of millions of people are actively choosing something else. And this is only the start. On May 7th, 2025, Apple revealed they're developing an AI-powered search engine, one that could replace Google as the default on iPhones and other Apple devices. The impact was immediate. Google's stock plunged 7.5%, wiping out $150 billion in market value overnight. This is being called the biggest shakeup on the internet since the early 2000s. So the question is, what exactly is happening, and why are millions of users turning away from Google every single day? Well, let's find out. This is Jimmy, and you are watching Beyond Economy. Let's roll the clock back. In April 2015, Google finally hit 90% market share, and since then, it never let go. For most people, search simply meant Google. Many didn't even realize that other alternative search engines existed. But when one company has such an overwhelming monopoly, then the outcome is almost inevitable. With no real competition and innovation stalls, the goal shifts from building a better product to squeezing out more money. Over the years, Google search has gotten worse. Studies have shown results are increasingly cluttered with low quality and SEO optimized filler. That's how you end up with 3,000-word blog posts, just to explain how to boil an egg. It's not better information, it's just content designed to trick Google into ranking it higher. And it doesn't stop there. Google is a public company, and Wall Street doesn't reward stability, it demands growth constantly. Not growth through better products, but through heavier monetization. Inside Google, product teams wanted to improve the search browser, but the marketing teams wanted more revenue. And as you can guess, the marketing team won. Google search became more bloated, more ad-driven, and objectively worse. Even Google's own leaders admitted this. Ben Gomes, the former head of search, once wrote, "I think we're getting too close to the money. We're too involved with ads for the good of the product." The former VP of engineering for search and discovery said that the finance folks were running like chickens, with their heads cut off. In fact, by 2019, Google had declared a code yellow, worried it might miss revenue targets that quarter. Not because it was failing, just because growth wasn't endless. This is exactly why Google's founders originally tried to keep ads and search separate. But that wall has been crumbling for years. Once Google became massive, it stayed massive by paying to be the default. Chrome already gave Google a built-in advantage, but Apple's Safari and Mozilla's Firefox were also bought out by Google. At one point, Google was paying Apple as much as $20 billion every year, just to remain the default search engine on iPhones. That kind of behavior eventually caught the attention of the regulators. The US Department of Justice sued Google, calling it an illegal monopoly. A federal judge even stated Google is willfully engaged in a series of anti-competitive acts to acquire and maintain monopoly power. In other words, people weren't sticking with Google because it was better, but instead just because Google had monopoly. And that brings us to today. The strategy of clinging to monopoly power instead of improving the product is finally catching up. In September 2024, Google's market share stood at 90%. By October, it had slipped to 89.4%. Since then, month after month, Google has been struggling to stay above that threshold. The free ride is over, and for the first time in its history, Google has to answer a terrifying question. What's next? Now, before we move forward, make sure to subscribe and click the notification bell for our next interesting video coming soon. So let's continue. We've all seen the surge of AI. Over the past year, it feels like everything, software, hardware, even products that make no sense, suddenly has AI slapped on it. But the biggest disruption came in late 2024, when ChatGPT changed the way we think about search. Now, if you open ChatGPT, right under the text field, there's a search button. type there, and you don't just get a wall of links. You get direct information with sources you can actually visit. And people are using it. A survey of 5,000 US consumers found that 39% use AI for online shopping, 43% for local food recommendations, 47% for product recommendations, 55% for research. And it's growing fast. In February 2025, traffic from generative AI sources was up 1,200% compared to July 2024. So, why AI? Why are people switching from Google to ChatGPT or Perplexity? First, it cuts out the clutter. No more scrolling past 4 ads before you even see real results. AI might not be as instant as Google, but it saves time by giving you what's actually useful, not what some company paid to promote. But the real game changer is context. Google is built on keywords, and it has to be, because it's processing billions of searches at scale. That means you're forced to think in keyword fragments, hoping to hit the right match while sifting through pages of useless websites. AI platforms like GPT and Perplexity work differently. They are language models, which means they actually understand context. For example, try to say, "My desktop screen is flickering." ChatGPT will give you many alternative solutions to the problems. But if you tell Google that, it will probably just send you to another generic "how to fix a flickering screen" article. So you see, you're stuck repeating the same loop. But an AI can recognize what you've already tried, highlight relevant issues, and even ask follow-up questions. It tailors the response to your exact problem. But in case of Google, if you don't know the right keyword, Google leaves you stranded. AI doesn't. But of course, it's still not perfect. Sometimes it gets stuck or it gives wrong answers, and that's the reason. AI won't replace search entirely, at least not yet. But it does things that traditional search engines simply can't. And users are noticing. Stats show that the visitors referred by AI search spend 8% more time on websites, view 12% more pages, and bounce 23% less from one website to the other than those coming from Google. Why? Because the results are more relevant. Instead of bouncing from one Google link to the next, users actually find what they came for in just one click. That's where Google's missing market share is going. If you're still not convinced Google is scared, just listen to its own employees. Scott Jensen, a 16-year veteran and former product manager at Google, admitted, "The AI projects I worked on were poorly motivated, driven by this mindless panic that as long as it had AI in it, it would be great. This wasn't about user needs. It was a stone-cold panic that we were getting left behind." And that's exactly what terrifies Google. Being left behind. The company has stumbled again and again in AI. First came the Bard, which infamously spit out false information, even in its own launch demo. Then came Gemini, which also failed on its debut.
Gemini pulls relevant content from the image, connects with my calendar, and gives me the information I'm looking for. Oh, looks like we had a little demo issue. Let me try one more time.
In desperation, Google rushed Gemini into search, placing AI-generated answers directly at the top. But the rollout was a disaster. Gemini confidently told users to add glue to pizza, eat 1 rock a day, and even claimed rocks were essential sources of vitamins and minerals. After this, the backlash forced Google to pull it back, and Alphabet's market cap shrank by $70 billion almost overnight. Since then, Google has patched Gemini and re-released it. But the company had already lost precious time, and to catch up, it's been spending like never before. In Q1 2025, Alphabet announced a staggering 43% increase in AI spending, up to $17 billion, mostly on servers and data centers. Altogether, Google has committed $75 billion to AI this year alone, alongside the launch of Gemini 2.5. But here's the problem. Google's entire business depends on advertisements. In 2023, advertising made up 76% of its revenue, over $230 billion, much of it coming from Google search. But now, with Gemini, users get answers directly, without clicking links. And if users aren't clicking, advertisers aren't paying. And that's why advertisers are losing faith. Google's ad platform, Raptor, used by thousands of independent websites, estimates Gemini's overviews could slash visits by 25%, wiping out billions in annual ad revenue. Companies like Chegg have even filed lawsuits claiming Google's AI summaries are stealing traffic that once drove their business. For a company like OpenAI, that might not matter. But for Google, ads are the business. In trying to catch up on AI, Google is undermining its own cash cow. And the irony, Google had the lead all along. Back in June 2017, its researchers published Attention is All You Need, the groundbreaking paper that laid the foundation for modern AI models like ChatGPT. By 2024, it had been cited over 173,000 times, making it one of the most influential scientific papers of the century. Google had the holy grail of AI years before anyone else, but it squandered the opportunity. When Sundar Pichai became CEO in 2015, he steered Google away from moonshots after projects like Google Glass, Project Loon, and Google Fiber failed to pay off. The company doubled down on search monetization instead of AI innovation. That's when insiders began warning about too many ads choking the product. The result? Google's obsession with preserving its monopoly is now the very thing that is destroying it. Even the brains behind its AI breakthroughs walked away. Aidan Gomez, one of the authors of that 2017 paper, said, "Inside a huge corporation like Google, you can't really do product innovation. The structure doesn't support it, so you have to build it yourself." And then he left. So did nearly all the other co-authors. 7 out of 8 have left Google, 6 launched startups, and 1 joined OpenAI. All of this happened after Pichai declared Google would move from mobile first to AI first. But the truth is, Google only acted when it was forced to. Now, its monopoly is slipping. Just a few percentage points for now, but it could be the beginning of something much bigger. And the question is, can Google defend its dominance without destroying its own business model? Because as history suggests, that when companies fall into this paradox, the ending usually isn't pretty. Make sure to support us by subscribing and clicking the notification bell for more interesting content like this. This is Jimmy, and you are watching Beyond Economy.